are going to be one of the components of the video that they will highlight is that you can take the ID. We're actually going to clip that part out of the video, so just kind of take note of that. If there's no questions right now, we'll get started with the video and then get questions out.
that she needs to. In a few minutes, we will start on the cup training. So any last things you need to do before we start on that, now's a good time to do it. I think we'll go ahead and get started. And all of the easy training that I've established, been through over the years, I think at the heart and the core of it is, one of them is the cup training. And so it's an important one to master all of the things associated with acquiring cubs and working with cubs, keeping them safe and having a partnership with them. So we thank you for these good officers who are on the street with them, and you will now have their presentation. Thank you.
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Sergeant Clark with SBI Alcohol Enforcement, Agent K. Martinez. We're just going to run through basic cup operation training. Help you guys take cubs, use guns, be safe while you're doing that. Easy compliance checks, that's state code 7739-101. Investigation of still sell alcohol, tobacco, cigarette, e-cig, nicotine products to underage individuals. And that just says a peace officer can investigate that, punch anyone under the age of 21 to enter or attempt to purchase any of those top abortion items. That's how we're able to use the codes on alcohol operations without them violating law as they're doing it. What is a code? Our cubs, they go between 18 and 19 years old. Once they turn 20, we consider them retired. We have that gap there ultimately to give the benefit of the doubt as we're doing these compliance checks. We're not here to trick anyone or to mislead anyone into serving someone that we have cubs for that they look freaking 30 years old. So we don't use them just because we want them to look like minors. And we'll go over that here in a second. We want them to look their age and be very obvious that they're not old enough for purchasing alcoholic beverages. So we keep a spreadsheet going and just goes through all their contact information, name, phone number, how they were referred to our program. If it's someone's relative, we have a sergeant that goes and talks at universities and teaches on the side to help with justice courses. He refers us cubs as well, talks about our program and how they can use that program to kind of get into law enforcement at a time. Back to state code. This just shows that an individual under 18 years old is requesting or attempting a purchase. They need that consent. We don't, for the most part, work with that. All of our cubs, like I said, are 18, 19 years old. If you are using any under 18 years old, obviously they need consent from their parent. I never decide to caution and just don't do that. Just 18 and 19 years of age. That way, if you have to go to court or do any of the adult stuff, you don't have a green light or under the age of 18, the parents to go into a home. So not all cubs are like who were hired. So this kind of goes back to what we were talking about. Age. Do they look under 21 years old? Do they have a full beard? They're 18 years old, they're a full beard. You don't want any of that. They want to present themselves as an obvious minor under 21 years old. Females, little or no makeup, casual attire, average height. Males, like I said, no facial hair, casual attire, average height, build. Like if I were to shave, I could probably go to elementary school and buy a dope there. I don't know. But like, if you were to sit back and see this person for the first time without seeing their ID, the common person would be able to say, this is for sure an underage individual. And that's what we mean by apparent age. It's obvious. Like I said, we're not trying to trick anyone. So the more obvious we make it, the better it is both for your case file and for if this goes to court. Where do we find cubs? So this is kind of our cub flyer. We send it out to pretty much all of our employees in DVS, get referrals through employees, coworkers, Oftentimes they know someone either at SBI or in our department. They have a relative or a friend, or son or daughter that reaches that 18-year-old mark and wants to be involved in law enforcement of some sort. And that's where we get a lot of ours. So referrals from law enforcement, the law enforcement cadet programs, that's what I was talking about. Criminal justice college courses, where we have the sergeants from major crimes, they go to teach these courses. We ask them to go and put out this information as well. They just talk about it so they can understand that it's a way for these 18, 19 years old, 19-year-olds when they're in these programs, criminal justice programs, to start becoming involved, working around cops, familiar with some of the state law, getting their feet wet before they're of age to actually do that. So SROs are a good resource as well. We have our own SRO that's over a big SRO program here at TPS, and we've been able to get the same flyer out to a whole bunch of different high schools and some universities and licensees as well. So, as well as just the public at large, a lot of this is word of mouth. There are times where it's feature handling. You'll have 20 different cubs available on an operation that will come out. Be prepared for when we're dealing with 18 and 19-year-old kids. So, although they're adults, they're going to have stuff that comes up and be prepared and have a pool big enough to pull from when they're about to do an operation and when the cubs fall around. So be prepared. Try to use different cubs, get them all the experience they need. That way, they're not retraining these cubs every time they're operation. So don't get too hung up on using the same cubs every time. It's good to kind of spread it around so that everyone gets the experience they need to be effective when they're out there. So that, like I said, as an example of our flyer, you guys can make some list of that or that one. It just goes over the basic requirements, what their assignment is, and how much to look at an hour. We recently bumped ours up from $15 an hour to $18 an hour, and now we're more interest that way. We'll go over that here. The job announcement goes over the job description. We go through all kinds of training with them, explain to them that they're safe, it's accompanied by a police officer during the course of their duties. They need to feel safe, and we should feel safe. We go through a checklist with them that explains what they can and can't do. We go through what entrapment is and how to avoid that, and the reports that they conduct during the operation. First, use my case files, which would be like a company listing. So our qualifications, like I said, 18, 19 years old, current Utah identification card or driver's license. That's important because, like I said, we're not on a trip anyone, so prior to an operation beginning, check a card if necessary and confirm that they only have that one ID with them. They don't carry school IDs, out-of-state IDs, anything that anyone could argue that they showed something other than their issued Utah state identification. So we confirm that, document it. This says they must live in Salt Lake County, but for the most part, we have cubs around the whole state. We go geographically, so we have cubs down in St. George, for example, that we use for the occasional ops down there. And just vary which cubs we're using by that geographical location, make sure that they aren't driving 2 hours for an operation. That might take 5 or 6 hours. The pay, like I said, that varies depending on the law enforcement agency, obviously $18 an hour. Does anyone pay more than $18 an hour in their cubs? No. I just suggest if you're trying to find cubs, raising that hourly rate will definitely get some attention from them. So, the hours are pretty hard to determine as far as guaranteeing any kind of what they're going to be working. Operations that could go 12 to 14 hours in a day, depending on drive time, down to 5 to 6 hours. We do operations once a week, every Thursday, and depending on time and funding, we'll do another operation so twice a week. And we're anywhere between 15 to say 25, 28 establishments on operation. One operation, when I say one operation, I say at least 2 cubs, because we're always sending them in pairs for their own safety. That was what we consider one cub operation. We'll oftentimes do one where we have 2 going simultaneously, or 4 cubs, at least 8 agents out, 4 agents, a set of cubs. It's one operation. It's still 25 to 50 establishments visited in one day. Awesome. These are our cub applications. When we get anyone that's interested in doing underage fire work, we'll send them this application. Very easy, generic, send it over email. I'll send it back to you. Signatures on it. We'll end up having them do that in front of us. Just make sure we understand it. Their signature, and we can start the background process. It's a very basic background process, just checking history, warrants, anything that would be an issue for their level of integrity when it came to them. So we do also require a picture be attached. That goes back to what we're talking about. Like a minor, we don't want 18 here. Further on the background packet, list who they know, where they go to school, what they're doing with their work for the agency before, any contact information or history, previous officers that work for them or with them. That form is an extremely important form, other than that background that we go through with every single cub. I'm not going to read every single one of these, but it goes to, it's better to err on the side of caution and understand what you can and can't do on these. We explained that the biggest thing we had is hit with these cubs is entrapment, just to make sure they're not putting anyone in a position where they would have been already. So it's a list of items. If they get signed in front of us, the initial that they understand and they'll comply by those. These are to protect you, your department, as well as the cubs themselves. Just an example of one of these is like I won't use my position or connection with the State Bureau of Investigation to get out of any law enforcement contact. So last thing you want is, for example, on a traffic stop, and they're saying, well, I'm a cub, I work for the state of Utah, I do undercover work, or whatever they say sometimes that's happened. That's against what they're agreeing to upon accepting an offer to work for us. So that keeps your department safe, that keeps you safe, and keeps them responsible for their own actions. Entrapment, like I explained on the very bottom, is the very last thing we talk about, so that resonates when we explain exactly who talked to them about it. All that is that we have that agent that can say, I talked to this person specifically, so that if we're in a situation where that might be an issue or someone would not have normally sold, but they decided to at that time do an entrapment issue, we can, obviously we're not going to take enforcement action on that. We'll just go and educate right away. But that's not something we're running across because we hit a trap hard enough to avoid having to deal with that as we're in operation. We talked about how much to pay. Hours kind of going rate. The more money you pay, the more interest you get. The more you get, going back to the hours. Like I said, these can go between 14 hours or 5 or 6 hours, maybe depending on what operations you have on the setup. So it's hard to guarantee any Cobra underage fire, any for sure hours to be worked. And that's something that has to be explained as well. This is not a full-time job. We can't offer 40 hours a week. And it's as you go and fall out and aren't able to respond or on these operations last minute, you might not get called as much because we need reliability in someone there that's going to show up and maybe show up and just like the officers are required to. So when we send a cub into an establishment on or off premise, they're always going in incentive to we do this, that they switch off the responsibility of who's going to initiate or order or attempt to purchase the alcohol beverage. It also makes them feel safe that they have someone else there and helps them blend in a little bit. That second part there where it explains that being alone might also be an indicator to other establishments. We haven't run across that personally, just because we always set it at two, but that could be an indicator for some random kid to go by himself to provide the six pack, anything like that. So if you're going to do it, send them in twos. We do have the club training videos that might be worthwhile taking a look at for a second here. These are awesome videos that were put together to kind of explain off-premise checks and how to train the Cubs as they come in. You can go through the videos. Do you guys want to watch those? If you guys need the links, just reach out with your links. You want to watch them? Okay. We'll do the off-premise check. That's what we played. Are you guys able to pull that up on there?
I could try.
That's the one that we're playing for Cubs during these training sessions to explain to them what's expected of them, what they're during the whole process.
The online audience might not be able to hear the audio.
We can watch this from other side. That is what it is.
We need volume up in the room so they can hear it possibly.
During a Cub operation, you're helping law enforcement determine whether businesses are following the law and
We start.
Okay. So state statute 7739 again. How many times can we check on a Cobra underage fire operation year? Is never gonna change. It's gonna be for, you want to be careful with how you space that out, and if you're doing this within your local jurisdictions, not statewide, space those out so that you're not hitting the same place 4 times in 1 week. It goes back to the equity issue. You don't want anyone saying that you're trying to be picking on their establishment. You want to be equal in everything that you do, treating the way the same way. That just allows for if you find yourself with one step owner or establishment manager that feels like then you can really explain to them and even show them statistically that they are one of many for that quarter or month that were checked. So the only reason you should be going back sooner than that, within a month, I would say, is if you have a specific complaint that needs to be investigated there. But otherwise, you need to stay within that 4 times. It can be 4 times in a week, statutorily, that's fine. 4 times in a year, but stay within as much as you can. So we're at a point where if you needed to, you could get a fake or a false ID or ECID for your Cubs. We are able to do that. We have that in policy that we're looking at. It's more of a burden at times to actually go through that process. What we do is we, like I said, make sure that our Cubs have their Utah State ID or driver's license on their person, their only ID on their person. And I think it helps the case that it's real and legitimate. Prior to the operation, we'll take pictures of those IDs, redact ourselves, their personal information, name, address, signatures, and just leave their pictures, basic information, height, weight, and their date of birth, as well as it's always supposed to be a birth ID, so they're under 21 and under 19 on the top right corner. What's going to be on those for reference during the operation, which is something that we explain when we're out with the violator. We show them that and help them not only to understand what they should have looked for, but how they can keep themselves out of trouble in the future. There's a lot of writing. So we'll just go through a basic compliance check and we should cover all this. So we'll start with our operation. We're going to do cuffs. We'll take pictures of what they're wearing as they look their age. We'll start a group thread on a signal app or a text, and that just kind of is how you're going to communicate, and then also document arrival times, legal times, citation times, as well as any information that you gather during the operation. So, for example, if me and Agent Martinez were to go in and out and make contact regarding the site, Agent Martinez do all the secondary information, as taking a picture of our suspect for our case file, as taking a picture of the alcohol, any menus or for on premise, or any documentation that shows where you're at, Mavericks, 7-Eleven, as you're going, as well as pictures of documentation and receipts if possible. If you get a receipt, that's great. Sometimes you can't, it's just how it is. But he's going to document and throw everything he can to that one centralized location. That way you can go back, always have it available if necessary, as well as download it later for your case file to present to DVS or whatever justice court you're working out of for your classmates. So once you go in and make contact and sales been made, we have the cups get squared out back to the car. Normally we're going to have at least 4 agents on these. I understand some of you guys with maybe 2 officers. If the more officers, the better. We always try and keep at least 2 agents inside the cup car with the 2 cups, just to make sure that one protects you from any accusations that you might come across, and it helps them feel safe as well. Then the other 2 will go in and handle the establishment, and the individual that served the alcoholic beverage will provide that during the sale. When the Cubs go back to the car, that's when the officers will go in there, we'll knock out your cup window statements, and takes about 5 minutes. They'll be as descriptive as possible, like we talked about, and that'll go into your case file as well. As far as how we're paying for all this, our department uses interest money, which is all tracked and accounted for. I don't think there's a better way than that to do it than using this money. As long as you have one written, you can explain where it went, how it went, and why it went there. You should be fine. One thing that we're checking is one where that money went to, what it was used for. If the Cubs, when they're coming out of the establishment, at least for us, they're also going to explain to us if they, when they made their contact, if 2 things occurred. If their ID was checked at all, if they asked for it, they took it, they looked for it. If they handed it back for just a short second, they took the ID to the back room, that's all documented. Specifically, if there's a scanner as well, that's all documented. Because when we go in, we're going to want to see that if they actually scanned, or if they pretended to scan, or if they saw that it was an underage adult minor and they still sold and it said that on the scanner, you might be raising your level from class 2 misdemeanor to intentional class A misdemeanor. So if they took ID, and then 2, something we document is if they're bringing the property. We put that in our reports. One helps you identify who you're talking to, regardless of the ID that you were presented. But it helps match him or her picture that you have, just for your case file. So there's plenty of 2 cars. At minimum, one's a cup car, one's a support car. 2 agents with the Cubs, at least 2 agents in the support car. We always have some form of communication or eyes on with the Cubs. They depend on us to keep them safe. The last thing you want is a Cub to be assaulted. or anything like that comes across. So, we use a system called Casper, to monitor through audio, what's being said, document the whole transaction beginning to end. We'll start it, they'll walk into the establishment and on Casper explain, okay, we're going to Maverick, we're going to 7-Eleven. We'll go in, we'll document the whole sale purchase, so there's no accusations. It's really important you retain those recordings and that you're being observant, and particularly when you listen to that before you go in as the officer. When you have that communication, you can hear what's said. You already know before you go in there who's going to be lying to you or not. There's times we've had to explain very clearly that we had an audio line open and could hear the whole conversation. That shows, one, that you're paying attention to what you're doing, two, you're keeping the cups safe. But three, when they tell you, no, they told me they were 25 years old and give me a fake ID, you tell them no, I searched them. They do not have any other ID but their Utah ID on them. So we know that for a fact. It's a real ID. And we heard the whole conversation and transaction over audio. That seems to nip it in the butt pretty quick, and clarify any issues that they might try to throw our way. If you have any issues with those audio devices, some of the departments might use Calio. You can get creative with it. You can use an open line on a cell phone, for example, if all else fails, and use another recorder device or a recorder on a cell phone to document it. More documentation is better. That way they can come back and say that something was said or done that didn't occur. So if you have issues with anything in the field as far as recording those transactions or conversations, the next thing that you need to do is get eyes in the accounts. Like I said, they depend on us for their safety. So if that audio goes out, you need to go send you guys in there and they'll go sit down and watch at the back of the store, or for us, it's bar top sometimes. So it becomes your safety out of it. So, like I said, constant communication with them, making sure that they feel safe as well as you are safe. This is an example of our statement that we have already ready to go for the Cubs. So there'll be two of these on one Adobe sheet. It's really easy. You pop out a laptop, your car, your office, and you'll throw down location, business, date, time, and then the statement we're good. Ours, if you work on over, we do Cub numbers. So we're like the 1700s now, almost 1800s, I think, right now. But that's a lot of Cubs, 1800 Cubs. So we'll have Cub 1805, for example. They'll have statement by Cub number 1805. And then in their statement, as you saw in an example report, it will explain myself, Cub 1806 entered this store. We saw this person that looked like this, and the transaction occurred. And just be as detailed as possible. The more detailed, the better. This isn't really going to go to court. I think I've never had one actually go to court. We've had one Cub actually get subpoenaed in the last year at least. So this at least provides them being that they go on one Cub out of, let's say, hundreds of Cubs for this one specific Cub. It's beneficial to have a detailed statement so they have something to refresh their recollection if they're in a position of trying ourselves in court. There's a side witness statement. Something about this is a completed one good example. 1720, and I walked into the place. They described the person they talked to. Alcohol violation hearings. It's like I was explaining, it's highly unlikely that the couple ever have to testify, but they would know ahead of time that is a possible place, and they don't get surprised by it. So we just explain to them what to expect. They'll receive a subpoena just like a law enforcement officer would. We'll receive that for them, contact them, and then start with a pre-trial process with any questions and prepare them for reports so that they can do the best that they can do. We do whatever we can to avoid giving any personal information, names, dates of birth, any unnecessary information, and try and keep their Cub number as their ID. If things escalate and let's say, for example, a Cub did get assaulted, that would be a point in time where you're going to prosecute that's going to want that personal information because they've been sure to come in. So hopefully you guys never have to experience that. If you did, that'd be probably the only time I'd have to worry about not using a cup holder. Very, very casual. I've actually never had to do it in this state hearing. Normally it's all resolved prior to that. But normally would be in a small conference room or not a courtroom, very simple and relaxed. So if you explain it to the Cubs instead of just telling them that they're going to go to court, possibly. Yeah, and that's something we'll still play for them. We'll play for that video before they go to court, but it's one of the training videos that they go through regardless, so they know what to expect. It's just a reminder about protecting their identity, redacting information in the thread or text thread or hierarchy. When that's redacted, protecting information and showing the individual on that actual license that they just held, what they saw happen in the future. All unfortunately redacted, as previously talked about. Really all identifying information except for the date of birth, and that's the main issue is our date of birth and under 21 until under 19 until so statutorily to show that they're serving a minor or supplying alcohol or selling alcohol to a minor at date of birth is obviously can be redacted. It's a key part of the report. This is kind of a basic run through. We do cover pretty regularly all kinds of explaining. If you guys have any questions, you guys can reach out to us directly. We just happen to have a lot of bodies that do this, and so our Cub operations are a lot bigger. Like I said, at least 4 agents, but sometimes up to 8 or 9 on one single operation. I understand some of you guys are doing it too, and I would just say be very cautious and careful. More overtime, just throw another body on there. It's never going to hurt to have an extra 1 or 2 guys with you. One, to make sure if there's a serious issue, you can react and handle it immediately. But 2, so the Cubs feel safe and actually are safe as they go through, and to keep yourself and your department safe. Does anyone have any questions about anything I've said today?
Did you say you could go to the same business 4 times a year?
4 times a year.
And you try to do that by quarters?
Normally, we break ours up by quarters, just to get some good distance. Like I said, if you want to do it with your paper, you're just going to be a very unhappy licensee. So it's important to try to spread them out and treat them all equal. But there's also so many. You want to get it one a quarter and not make it through all the licensees before the next quarter. So this is more than likely for local jurisdictions so that they can understand that if we have those 4 opportunities and they want one, then they can't hit that. People back to Maverick. They can't get that Maverick again until the next year. So to space that out, 1, so they don't know when it's going to occur. 2, so it's equitable in how you're doing your checks. 3, so that we're trying to work with a partnership. We don't want them to sell to minors. You get a whole bunch of these guys or one establishment 4 times in less than a month. They're going to start sending emails and start to become upset and work with you less on future cases. So as you're doing this, you're building those partnerships to make sure that, we are equitable. We're checking this one place once a quarter. We explained during our checks that our policy is once a quarter. And that's just an internal policy on us to make sure we're fair across the board. But we do explain to them that they do 3 days checks when they get their license and that they're going to get these checks. So there's no use in arguing that. Just bringing it out is best practice, especially if you only have so many options.
How often do you get complaints from citizens to tell you they're selling beer to underage kids?
This week. So our complaints come into a variety of ways, and they cover everything from sales of alcohol to minors to a certain intoxicated person, or even our own DUI squad will send us an email and we email directly saying this establishment here, this bar, this Maverick. I pulled 3 DUIs of minors out here. We're going to decide EAC for an adult over 21, and we'll always conduct a follow-up investigation of that establishment. But I would say once a week, if not once every couple of weeks, we'll get one straight from the general public And we get EVS as well, they'll be filtered through and then come through to us. I'm sure when they Google alcohol complaint, it's gonna bring up the DVS, and so they get filtered through to us so that we can go and conduct a complete investigation, whichever establishment it is. But we get them all kinds of ways. We've had troopers, off-duty troopers go to the polls and explain, saw something that was, you know, questionable, whether they're their family, what they're supposed to do about that. And you know, we gotta be smart about doing what you handle. But we'll always go and throw in a complaint list to make sure that we have the right operation to attack the right complaint. Underage complaint, it's going to be put in padlock, or a variety of other places will be investigated. Attempt for it will be made. If it's a different kind of complaint, like a SIP, for example, a covert operation will be conducted. We will send agents inside the establishment to figure out just to sustain or dispel that. To answer your question.
Where do you as SBI primarily do your checks? And then if those areas overlap with other jurisdictions, do you work with those jurisdictions so that they know that that place has been checked and therefore there's only 3 more checks you got this year?
Right, and that's something that we do a lot of on-premise as FBI. We will only do on-premise if we made contact previously with the law enforcement in that specific city or county to see if they do have an easy program, if they are using that easy program, if they would like an extra hand, if they have too many places to check and they would like extra bodies to go do that. SBI is always happy to supply bodies to people time. So if you got one officer like in an easy program that needs to go out and hit certain places, he's got 20, 30 places, but only him and maybe one other. You can always reach out to us. We'll send people to come help you with your operation, help you run it, and help you get through what you can get through. But we'll never have an SBI agent in an off-premise location without that communication being made or with those officers with us. And that also helps us kind of branch out and make friends across the LEO community and these different agencies. When we go do an operation like we do in North Ogden, sometimes we'll go up there and have one of their easy guys hop over with us and we'll do an operation together. And they'll normally take the sites if we hit an on-premise place, or they'll come with us to on-premise places and we'll just knock them all out together. So we don't have to worry about having anyone cross that and possibly hit over that 4, because we'll document that we're under that 4 after every operation. We can look up any place, any license, our information, and our own like RMS system, internal records. And we can say on these days, we've been hit this many times this year. So we'll check that before an operation regardless to make sure we don't cover that. But we'll never run into that. Go beyond
There's an online question.
I'll read that. We have a question online. Can you talk about additional checks for violations outside of the quarterly checks? So if you have a business where we get a sale, do we then add additional checks for them?
If you're investigating a complaint, from my understanding, you're an investigating complaint, you can double check. Even if you're over the board, right? But there has to be a reason. If there's not a reason or a specific complaint as to why you're there, that's going to start going into violating state law.
And doesn't it need to have documentation?
Yeah, you have to have something. You have to document it, the complaint that's coming in. You got to be able to explain yourself as to why you went over that. And within our department, you have to explain yourself as to why you went there. Or so closely to the event before. So, does that answer the question? Yes or no on that?
We'll wait for a response.
Yeah, let me know
Yeah.
if it doesn't answer, and I'll try to answer.
Thanks.
We do. So normally we do, this is shown here is part of the off-premise stuff. Our standard practice is to handle the state liquor stores. Yeah. Normally off-premise or these programs are get that specifically through us at SBI. But like I said, it doesn't mean we can't work together and have an option come with us, or we work with you guys and we'll hear it. That's just as long as that number 4 is compliant. So we're at 12 hits on liquor stores this year. We try to at least hit the liquor store one, if there's more than one, we'll try to get to all of them, but we make a point to make sure we get those liquor licensees from the state liquor stores, in whatever jurisdiction or area we're in, for a couple of reasons. One, because, you know, that's part of kind of who we are as well, and our DABS partners. So we need to be in compliance with our own rules and regulations, right? That's important to be an example. But two, all these stats and all this data is collected, and licensees get this information, and the last thing you want to see, which has been argued before, which is why we every single liquor store we can, is that we're going to these other on-premise or off-premise locations and not the state liquor store, and us being a state agency that could put forth, that could favor national favoritism or anything like that. So that's protect ourselves from any accusations, as well as making sure we're accountable in our own state agencies, and we go and check those every time. Any other questions while I'm up here? All right, thanks for your time. Go back to the
Really, from all of us, it's really a credit to our law enforcement agencies, the way they have implemented this program, and particularly with the Cubs. I've watched it over the years, and I'm telling you that Cub safety is number one on the list. And the way we have funded easy is it's overtime, but you know, it's really, you get enough officers to do the job and protect the Cubs and protect everybody in the operation. The other thing I want to mention about the 4, where did the 4 per year come from? It comes from the fact that after 90 days, you'll find that they'll drop off if you don't go out there again. The worst thing you want to do is do it in January and then do it in November. Because when you do that, we'll drop down to 65%, I can tell you that. If you do it out in space evenly, it's been suggested, then we will hit the 95% mark. And part of that is just that people just drop off. It's just all in the research and everything. That's where the 4 comes from, except when we have a bad apple, then you've got probable cause. And then when you have probable cause, then you got, you know, you can go in there what it takes to do the bad apple, and you can work with DABC and so forth. And so the program is really meant to be, again, 95% 4 times a year, to have penalties that are not draconian, that are balanced, and that we can work with the people. And then also, we can get rid of the few bad apples that come along. And they will come along, because we've seen it up in, you see it advertised once in a while, and they get careless and they don't care. But my compliments to law enforcement in the precise way. Not many places will do it, the precise way and the methodical way that they handle work with the Cubs to protect them, protect the case, and really protect the compliance. Because it's really important, because when you see the average that people get it from stores, the problem with that average is the way they collect it. It's the 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grade. Well, 6-year-olds aren't going to get the store. So there's, in reality, as they grow up in age, over 18, 19, they're going to hit the store. 50% of the kids love DBAC products, okay? And they love the vodka, and that's what they tell us. So across the board, they're putting pressure on us everywhere to get at this alcohol. And DABC really runs a tight operation too, and over kids buy it. But overall, what we really want to do again is that collectively, we want to work together so as many kids possible can grow up with a healthy brain. And we just don't get down this path where it absolutely destroys their development, really, and their ability to make good decisions. So our thanks to law enforcement in the operation of their cubs. I think that's a hallmark of this easy program. We're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we will talk about easy and our sustainability. And so why don't we take a 10-15 minute break, and then we'll come back and finish the last two topics. Well, we're excited again for the next presentation. Because really, you look at the title about the sustainability of easy. Let me tell you why that's important to talk about it. I can absolutely guarantee you that unless you enforce an alcohol law, there isn't one. And that's why it's important in this community to enforce our 21 age, underage drinking laws. If we don't, the kids won't think there is a law that harms them. It's not a harmful product. So let's welcome them and time over to them.
All right. Skylar Jensen with Cache County. I've been doing the compliance checks up there for 5 years this month, actually. So I got to go over how I run the program, the successes I've had. Hopefully it helps some of you if you're struggling with any of it. First thing, administration support. Of course, it takes scheduling. For me, I got to track down an unmarked card to pay. It helps with my admin being supportive, understanding the value of the checks. So I have that help with getting things going. Taking time to send all the letters. One thing with the letters, there's the pamphlets that are over here. I drop a pamphlet in all the letters I send out. A little bit of education, so I'm not just showing up when I arrested their clerk. Try to get a little positive rapport building with that. So I like those pamphlets for that. Officer selection. Cache County, we use SROs for it. I don't know if other jurisdictions can use. Pensions are assigned to do it. SROs generally have availability. They have access to Cubs, good Cub pool, which is another point coming up here. I'm also Explorer advisor for a youth group. I'm always getting them chomping at the bit to come help because they're interested in law enforcement already. And a lot of them are 18, 19. So like the SROs, you should have pulled from private clubs with SROs. I teach law enforcement classes, part of those duties. Being an SRO for high school, and so I've got 35 kids that have an interest already that I can pull some of them from their role tonight. I've got also relationship with my prevention coordinator from her staff. I take one of them with me. They help keep me on track as far as scheduling. Any questions I have, retailers have questions to them, they can bounce it off of me if it's under my umbrella. I take them with me, they can help document the times, the names, all that kind of stuff. If a cut is taking too long in the store, and it's not a safety concern, the prevention coordinator will walk in, just do a walk by, make sure his computers are down. Okay, that's why it's taking so long. Instead of me walking in a uniform and blowing the opportunity. 2 officers going with. Again, safety, like has been talked about. But if something comes up and I can't go on a check with scheduled next week, I take someone else with me, do this something different every time. Another SRO, just another deputy. So they know how I run things, they know how things work. So if they need to fill in, they can. And if the time comes I need to pass it on, I've got half a dozen guys that already know kind of the gist of how things work and why we do it. So just sharing that information across the department. Here's information. Sometimes the data entry side is a pain. Every time I miss something in a box and Jill emails me, kicks it back to me. I have the printout of all of the slides of the screens for years. Last year she gave them to us. I hope she gave it to us again with the New Year's program. But I make notes on it, so next time I have to go in, I have the clues or make sure I get everything complete and everything that needs to be reported there. And we don't do it every day, so it's easy to forget little things. And then just relationship building. I said, being an SRO, I hear things from the school, from kids. Kids talk about things in class all the time, the teachers here. So last week, I had a teacher come to me, hey, kids are saying this store and this store are selling. There's ears all over the school that can feedback to the SRO. And then I build that relationship with the school that they know we are doing something to try to curb the underage drinking. And same with, student groups, student council, I've used for council before, youth councils for cities. Usually they're the good kids looking to serve and do good things for the community. So that's another way you can pull and build relationships with city as well as the schools. So just a summary there for my part. Just the questions after.
Oh, it's my turn now. Good afternoon. Going to wake you up. So can you all stand up for a minute, please? Stretch. Stretch a little bit. There you get the loo. That's all well and good. Well, wake up. Find some candy. You know you like sweets. All right. You can take a seat if you like. I appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm Jeremy Summerlith. I'm the Assistant Director for Licensing and Compliance for the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Services. We changed our name last year to Services because it's an important element sort of for community development and understanding how a regulatory agency interacts with state and local individuals, state partnerships, with local law enforcement, with SBI, with our other partner agencies, Department of Health, Health and Human Services, Salt Lake County Health Department, etc. Our goal is not necessarily to be the strong arm of the law, because that's not what we're mandated to do. Our mandate, essentially, our mission is to protect and uphold 32B. 32B is the alcohol law. So that's what we aim to do. When it comes to services, it's developing partnerships with state and local law enforcement, with easy individuals, those perpetuating and instilling the easy values of eliminating alcohol sales to youth, right? So that's what we want to do. So in ensuring sustainability moving forward, what we intend, this is super fancy, is law enforcement support, violations, administrative process training, prevention advocacy, collaboration with prevention partners. We're going to talk about a couple of these topics. And this new thing that I want to share with you, which I'm quite excited about, are the compliance zone map that our department, Utah DABS, facilitated with UGRC, which is the Geospatial Resource Center for the state of Utah, another state agency. Efficiency and communication. So with law enforcement support, easy law enforcement training. Interestingly enough, last year our agency went through a state audit, as most other agencies probably did as well. And one of the things that was discovered, I think, and adding value to the GABS, is the importance of collaborating and educating state and local law enforcement. Enforcement experience about violations, right? We don't know a lot about violations because it's siloed, right? It's been siloed for so long, just as a DABC element, the DABC, the big bad DABC, we're out to get you, we're out to take your alcohol license, we're out to enforce the law because you're bad. That's really not the case, right? Our responsibility isn't to go out and be enforcement officers. We don't carry guns. I feel very inadequate today because I don't have a gun. But whatever. We don't have badges. We don't carry. We're not enforcement officers. We're specialists, and we work for the government, and we're here to help. That being said, one of the things that we have turned around in the past 12 months at the department is the idea of education before enforcement. Education before enforcement. We want to talk to our licensee business partners and explain to them the importance for them to partner with us to support 32E. See what I did there. The important part is for our licensee business partners to understand that they also have to uphold 32B, protect 32B in partnership with the department and the individuals who have the opportunity to go out and enforce that element are you. So we want to have the opportunity to speak to your departments, to come to your departments, to have training opportunities. They can be virtual, hybrid, whatever, just much like we're doing today, to explain the elements of 32B and the changes in code, the changes in statutes that happen invariably every year with the legislative session, the one that just ended a few days ago. So there are some changes that are occurring, and that information should be conveyed to you so that you're able to go out and enforce the law. That's what your role is in this partnership. So talking about the importance of EASY, talking about the violations process and the administrative process, much like we did today, is an important element in our evolution, I suppose, for the DABS. I think we're doing a pretty good job. Prevention advocacy. Here's another point. Our prevention partners who are in the room today, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. And for those online, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you joining us to learn about this information. So we do an easy roundtable discussion every quarter, and we invite our prevention partners to join in. Thank you. We talk about the importance of what's going on in different areas of the state of Utah when it comes to alcohol prevention and the measures to be taken. The easy checks, how do we encourage local law enforcement partners to participate in easy checks? As of the February Commission meeting, just to remind you if I'm wrong, there are 1,609 off-premise licenses issued in the state of Utah. I'm going to show you a map in just a minute of where the bulk of those are located. So easy roundtable discussions, and then we have a newsletter that Amber's been working on for quite a while, sending it out to Salt Lake area prevention partners, police departments, but Utah DABS is going to take that on moving forward so that we can send it statewide. But an important part in the communication of what we want to accomplish with our business partners, with our law enforcement partners. So then the compliance zone map. So we worked with, when I came on board a year and 12 months, a year and 2 months ago, 14 months ago, to the DABS, the executive director said to me on day 2, you've got a lot of work on your hands. We've got a long way to go to fix some challenges that have been around for years. We go up to the task. Well, sure, yeah, I'd be happy to do it. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but we've made some pretty remarkable changes when it comes to our compliance specialists and the importance of what our mission is. One of the cool things we've been able to do is make it more efficient to collaborate with communities and with our communication to law enforcement by creating zones, compliance zones across the state of Utah. So we thought how inefficient it would be if you go to Park City to do a compliance check and you have 9 different DABS compliance specialists assigned to Park City. Who do you call? Who do you call if you don't, let me know about this particular licensee before I go out? Who do you contact? What was the problem? So we thought, well, let's remedy that problem. Let's create zones and let's assign a compliance specialist to a zone, which is exactly what we did. So across the state of Utah, it's zoned. And then if you notice, all of the white dots for this particular exercise, these are all off-premise licensees. So UGRC helped us map every one of our 4,000 licenses in the state of Utah. On this particular map, we were able to see that think it's called JUAP. JUAP. Here, I just, the hope that commissioner's not on the phone because he'll laugh at me. So looking here, you see that this particular area is a particular compliance zone. There's one compliance specialist assigned to this zone, Kim Riddell. So if you go out, you have a question about any of the licensees located in this area, you're welcome to give a call to Kim Riddell at the DABS. She'll be able to help you. Who's the manager on duty? Who's the manager? Who the manager's listed at this particular location? Who is the entity? So when you do your checks, you know what you're going into. It's very helpful information. In Salt Lake proper, we go back one. Do this one. So this is the Wasatch Front, I guess that's what we call it. Right in this area. So these zones are also an individual. So you've got someone up here at Park City that's one compliance specialist with the Utah DABS. His name is Mike Bishop. So when you go out to Park City to do your audits, I don't know, Sundance was happening 2 weeks ago. You go to know that Mr. Bishop was the compliance specialist for Park City. You could ring him up and say, listen, we've got a question about, I don't remember what that problem was. We got a question about a particular licensee or a licensed establishment, or they're serving alcohol and there is no license. Who is this? Who is this person? Who's this entity? So with the Utah DABS in developing this partnership with our law enforcement partners, we're able to provide you additional information. It's a matter of safety. It's a matter of knowledge. It's a matter of sustainability, so that you're not out there on your own. So when it comes to sustainability with the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Services, we welcome you to give us a call, to reach out to us if you have questions about the law. If you're not sure about gray areas of the law, if you need assistance with interpretation of the law, if there are changes to the law that you're not aware of, give us a call, send us an email. Let us know how we can support you. That's what this sustainability is all about. Is moving forward. We do want to thank you again for your partnership as it is today and for moving forward in our easy compliance checks. It's a really great thing. Thank you, Art. Appreciate you having this up. Thank you for your time. Yeah, any questions? Good.
Whenever has been turning out this new study, like it, it's great that you're taking it over. It's a super thing to do. Thank you very much. Great. And we have one person to call for, he's got easy in the department, right? Right. Yeah. Sure. Let me talk just one thing before Joe talks on sustainability. Now, this is important. Once you start into your 4 checks, what we don't want to do is start in and then do nothing, go in, dirt. Because it's not fair necessarily to the retailer. When you do that so erratically, they're going to be down on the 65% level. We don't want to do a lot of whether they sell or not sell by doing our 4 checks regularly a year. And that gets them in a consistent mode. So they know you're coming. And that really makes a difference, and you're going to give them a 10. When we talk about sustainability, as we get off the blocks here from COVID, make sure you build in your accounts, get how could you need it to get started, do anything to make sure that you sustain that level of 4 times, and then we won't have to give out so many class Bs. We'll go faster, and we'll get our job done and send more thank you notes. So, and two things I want to make as I introduce Jill. Jill's been with us a very long time. She handles all the money for you. And the reimbursement, off-premise is reimbursed through her. Off-premise, all checks, made or not made, should go through her. Whether you decide to get reimbursed or not, she has to publish an annual report and has done so for 16 straight years. So she's something you want to listen to, make sure you understand the reimbursement. And one of the things that distinguishes this program from anyone else in the United States is the fact that the legislature decided to fully fund you and the cops and mileage over time. That's a commitment by the legislature. They want these foods alcohol free. So with that, I will turn you over to Mrs. Reimbursement.
And then he starts at each, so whatever. Amber's gonna call out,
Oh, okay.
I need some volunteers, about 19 people that want to answer questions for me. There's treats in there to answer a question. First one that's question gets. Oh, I can invite people with Abby. It's almost nap time. We're not gonna put it down, just a little bit. All these raffles now. Yeah. So 664, the raffle price. I'm proud of everybody. 616. If you're not here, you don't get to win a prize. 616 wins. Right here. Exactly. 565. Jason's ticket still on the floor.
What do you need for what we got?
533. Everybody wants one of those. You know what? I think I do. I think I have one.
You already got one, so we.
I know. Give it to somebody else. Girl, yeah.
Oh, another. 541.
Oh, who's got 541?
541? You have 541? Yep. Right here.
Oh, 711. 711.
Five 28. I know. 655. Not doing very good. 671. Five, 3, 5. Woo! Got one. Finally. How many more, Amber? Two more. 5, 3, 8. 6, 8, 9. 6, 8, 9. I'll just keep calling them. 7, 7. Oh, wait, whoa. 69, come on. You guys get handle this paper? You want to answer questions? Okay, 5, 4, 9. Four, 8, 7. Fastest one to respond here. 5, 5, 5. Just to make up numbers. 6, 5, 0. Again? Here we go.
Yeah.
Yes, you're on.
Come on. And he's pointing, so he's. Okay, I need help. How do I do it? So, today we talked about all the W's. Who is law enforcement? What are we doing? Where are we doing them? The off-premise consumption retail locations. When? 4 times a year. Why we're doing it? And ensure compliance. Everybody else wants to ensure compliance. Now let's talk about one of the hows. How does your agency get reimbursed for doing these checks? Yeah. You live off. So, we revamped the gear system and now your, the new Gears website is gearsigx.utah.gov. If you have not logged into Gears, you will need to apply as a new user. My brain just went dead. When you fill in the new user application page, it goes into highway safety. If you're a previous user, you do need to log in as a new user in the new system. You may use your previous username and password in the new system. So you just fill in that information. Here's will tell you that you'll get a confirmation email in 1 to 3 business days. But our lovely Pat here actually mans that system and it gets to you in about an hour unless we give our day off. Or lunch.
Not allowed.
She's really quick with it. Oh, this is my favorite slide. We're gonna play 20 questions. So, who has a question?
So I feel mine is a trick question.
It is. I gave it to you on purpose.
Chips and snacks go with beer.
To go with it.
Oh,
Do
two
we,
go, so I
do
read-
we read them? Do we read them? Do we read them? No, chips and snacks don't get reimbursed when you send a cup in to purchase.
Okay, so I read
Good
that.
answer.
I read that wrong. That's my bad.
So chips and snacks do go with beer, but not reimbursed when you do compliance check.
And it's more than one cup. Yeah.
They can't hear your question online.
Says more than 1 cup, yes.
Yes, we can reimburse for more than 1 cup when they go out. Mileage for an agency fleet vehicle. I reimburse mileage, but not for a fleet vehicle that has gas card. So sometimes your cub has to take their own car. I'll pay that. Sometimes you have an agency car that has a gas card. I'm not gonna cover that mileage. Your agency's got that. I ask all the trick questions. The answer was no. We don't do compliance checks at restaurants in this program.
They toss some letterhead or postage. I would say yes.
You would say yes. Letterhead and postage is covered expense. We strongly encourage positive letters or even not so positive letters going out to each of the retailers once you've done a compliance visit. It doesn't need to be a 1-page letter. It could be a postcard. Just let them know.
Paying a cub by the number of locations that sell to them. Yes. Well, pay the cub, yes. We reimburse for the cub.
But not by location itself. We don't want to incentivize a cub to do checks. Either have them talk a clerk into selling so they can get paid. If we pay a cub by how many locations we check, that's perfectly fine. But we're not going to pay a cub. If we can get somebody to sell beer, we'll pay. We want compliance.
Party patrol operations, no.
Good answer.
Educational visits without a gun. That's a yes.
Money for the purchase of beer. And since I'm Sergeant Beer, I'm gonna say yes.
So beer money, when a cup goes out, would come out of like a petty cash at your agency. Or, and then they end up buying.
We have become a Catholic society. Being identified before they are trying to make cash purchase.
This is just for my knowledge. I just want to know this answer.
Would say no, not mine.
So they're not getting picked out just because they're only using cash and not. But everybody I know only has their plastic card. very good.
We just had a tobacco compliance on sale with cash, so
Does anybody have any problems?
depends on where you're at, I guess. Then they come up with the rest of society, I guess.
Just, I never had cash, so it's like, for our folks being pegged because they look young and they have cash. Going to register with cash here. Anybody have that problem? Well, I'm glad you don't. Oh, this is serious.
Health department employee sets up checks, rides along, and enters reports. Can they get reimbursement for their time? No.
Sorry.
What are the Cub hourly wages? $18.
Can you pay it out hourly? And it's up to your agency what amount. You pay them by the hour. Just remember that years will not multiply that. When you enter it for reimbursement, that line multiplies, so you have to actually tell me the total amount. More questions? Who has more questions? Did you get passed? I'm telling.
Beer that was purchased. Yes.
Officer straight time wages.
So the question was, do we pay officers straight time wage? Yes.
No, a time and a half.
I asked all the trade questions. Lindsay answered. Who else has a question? Yay, please.
Can you get cut by the number of locations checked? No.
Wait, how many locations you stop at? There is not really a school.
Yes.
So.
Well, come on, you don't want to pay them more than you are. You don't want to pay them more than I earn. Oh, wait, no. You can make a set amount, make it worthwhile. Make them want to work with you, That's not the right way to say stuff. Incentivize them to want to continue to be an underage buyer with your agency. Yeah, if you're paying them $10 a night and they have to go to 20 locations, it's not worth your time. It's really up to your agency. The agency decides if the flat 50 is what they want to pay. Sometimes it's $2 and sometimes it's 6. Maybe you want to increase it a little if you start getting sales and they have to do more reporting and increase what they're. There's a location. Is it Summit County, Lindsay, that has a store that's 2 hours away from all the rest of life?
Well, I think there's a store up like in Bear River Service that's in Summit County, but it's only open during like winter time, snow hours. I think. So I don't.
If it takes you 2 hours to drive out to the store, it's not fair to the cub not to be paid those 2 hours. It's not fair to the officer not to be paid those 2 hours. So the time it takes, just make sure that when you compensate your cub, the only thing we are not compensating for is trying to have them force somebody in the cell. Other than that, it's up to your agency. If they choose to do hourly, sometimes they have to put them on like payroll, which is terrible. If you want to do a flat rate, that's great. It's easy, flat rate. Okay. Now we'll get back to previously scheduled programming. The new gears. So now you've set a date to do compliance, or you have gone out to do compliance and you need to be reimbursed. In order to get an activity report, just like before with the old gear, I guess I can call it, or the current gear system, just email me or call me and I will make an activity report for you. I do have crazy days on and off that I work, so if I don't answer the phone, send me an email. I will email you back with the activity report number. So the first thing that you'll do once I give you an activity report number is sign into our beautiful new gear system. New and improved, it's a little larger, so you can hopefully see the screen better than you could previously. Once you log in, the first thing you'll come to is called the dashboard page, and there you'll see my tasks. So for this example, we're going to use activity report number 57. So in the My Tasks area, you'll see under name is your report number that has number 57. You'll click there to get into the activity report. And it kind of runs like the old years, except that when you click on that, instead of doing the view, edit, and complete forms page, it pops right up for you on the left. Just like we're used to entering, the first page we'll do is the compliance data page. And when you click on that, you'll see the place to enter officer's name, the total number of hours, straight time wage, and area for the cub. When you enter cub, use the cub number. The less information, the better. You're going to redact all the information. If your agency assigns the cub a number, use the cub number to pay them. If you have additional officers or cubs, there's the plus area, and it will open up a second line. And then further down the page is the place for mileage if needed, any admin costs. And if you use admin expenses, the comment section does need to be used. There's a no benefits box on the officer line. Don't check that box. Your agency has to pay state and federal taxes, and that's the only thing that benefits covers. Unless you have like a couple of agencies have employees that are 1099, but that's a very rare case. So when that information is complete, the save button is at the top, just like in the old years. Save as your friend in this program. Enter. What does enter do, Kat? Nothing still? Or does it move you somewhere?
I think enter doesn't do anything. You have to either click save or next page.
Okay. So save as your friend, just like in the last year's program. And then same as the last year's program, you're going to use the right arrow button to find the next pages. But since we made it so much easier for you to see the pages that you need to complete, now we've added a button. So when you complete that page and use the right arrow, then you'll need to use the down arrow to find your next pages, because we can't make it too easy. The next page will, excuse me, fill in is the retailer data page. When you click on that, again, there'll be 3 retail areas on each page that you can enter. Use the drop down to find the city, and you can start typing your city. But if you type as quickly as I do and you're trying to type Logan, before you get to the G, it's going to start finding G cities. So if you need to scroll down through the cities that start with the letter L, just keep hitting L. Or you
We just have a question from the online chat. Just wanting you to reiterate about when to request activity reports. Was it once a year or after each check?
when you do a component check.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll answer a bit of that at the end. So once you find your city in the dropdown, then you're going to find the retail location also in the dropdown, and you can begin typing it. The retailer data I pull off of the DABS website. It is manually entered by me, who is not always spot on, because I'm human. If you don't see your retailer in the dropdown, contact me. I could have either put it in the wrong city. A lot of the licensees show up as Salt Lake City proper, but they are Taylorsville or they are somewhere else. And I can change them to read in your city properly. I'll do the research to find the license number and make sure we show that. If not, I can check with the DABS on your behalf. But don't submit the report until all the retailers have done it. So hang on to the report until it is fully complete. There is room for 3 retailers on each page. Once you find the retail location that you've checked, there's the yes or no questions. Was a sale made? Did the clerk ask for ID? Was the clerk wearing ID? There are also questions on was the clerk trained and does the store have the ID record? When you're doing the educational visits, remind the management of the stores that they do need to have the ID record available for you at any time for immediate inspection. But when you're out doing a compliance check, if your cup goes in and there's no sale made, why would you want to blow cover on the cup and ask for ID and ask if they were trained? You can always use no sale, or if there was a sale made, you could do unable to verify until after the fact. If you choose other in the action taken, a comment is necessary. So as we spoke earlier, if it's an underage retail clerk that you decided not to cite, but they did sell, you can choose other and just use the explanation box. If you choose citation from the drop-down list, that will open up the lower area, asking for the clerk's full name, social, date of birth, and citation information. Good question. It's pretty much the same as it always has been. Once you complete 3 retailers to the page, or if you're done entering the retailers that you've checked, click on save. If you need additional room for more retailers, click on add. I will have those steps printed and spelled out. If you want the pictures, if you want the slides, let me know and I can do that as well. It also helps with training if you want somebody else to handle entering the information. Just do it step by step. I need that. Then use again the right arrow and the down arrow to get to the compliance summary page. You can see the stores are listed now in the second to the left. How do you say that? So if all the tabs are on your left, there's another one that opens up and it will show the retailers that you've entered on this report. That way, if I ask a question about it, you can see what page that retailer's on and just go there very quickly. Then the compliance summary page is not checked up at this point, so we need to complete that page. I don't think I took a good screenshot of it, but you've got to click save to get that to balance, or it will show officers' wages and that amount you gave the cup and any admin expenses, and the total is 0 until you click save. If you leave it that way, it will send an error message through the system. So everything's now checked off. All is well and good. All the stores that you did compliance checks on were listed on your report. On the blue bar, you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of it, is activity report submitted. That is the last step that you'll do once it's complete to get it to me for reimbursement. If you don't change the status, it'll kind of hang out there forever. And then I'll start to question because I keep track of the reports that are out as well. But what if you don't know the officer's wages? What if you're the enterer and your fiscal people know the officer's wages and you don't? There's always a way to add somebody to these reports. So if you enter 3 of the stores and you go on vacation, you need somebody else to finish the report. Or if you need somebody to enter wage amounts or cub amounts or whatever else needs to be added to the report. In the blue sidebar, there's a button that's add or edit people. So when you click on that, see there's a lot of slides, but not a lot of information. The document person box will come up. You start entering the person's name. It doesn't need to be, it needs to be close to the correct spelling. It doesn't need to be their full name. You can start typing it. It can be first or last. And that will pull up a list of, oh, see, I just typed in my name. That will pull up a list of anything that corresponds with that name. Then you'll, in the document role area, you'll give them the role of project director, always. And hopefully we're going to remove some of the extra roles out of the system. And so that should be the most common one. It doesn't matter if they're the fiscal person, make them a project director and click save to get them on the report. Then the other person will see it in their tasks area as well, as long as the report has not been submitted. If you need to go back and find that report, let's say you added somebody to the report and they need to find it, the 5-digit number that is assigned to the report that I will tell you when I open an activity report, you can always look in the top under searches and look up activity report. And where it says activity report name, you just type in that 5-digit number and click search. I don't know why they give us a number and they call it a name. So once it is submitted, and we've seen easy invoice in the drop down all along, but it's not complete. So wait until you've submitted the report. Once it's submitted, you can always click on easy invoice. It's going to open up a PDF file that you can give to your fiscal person that says, we went out and did compliance checks. The agency name and date of checks is on the reference title, and it will show them what dollar amount of check. So if they receive a check and they don't know what to match it up to, this just helps them. There's going to be another report that opens up easy compliance check detail. This will open up a PDF file of all the store locations that you checked and whether they were compliant or not. That's really good to keep for your records so you can see Let's see. I didn't see that. The 7-Eleven sold last time we went out, and the 7-Eleven sold this time too, so, you know, this is going to be an area that we need to keep an eye on. I'm also hopefully, we're working with the software people, and I don't know if that's happened. We're going to add areas onto that retailers checked area to show the OP license number, and maybe a column that says, were they wearing their name badge or not? So please have your cubs really look for those name badges. We're seeing 60% of the retail locations being checked. The clerks are not wearing their name badges. So if we can kind of track that when you go again, it'll show whether they're wearing name badges. Maybe that will prompt an educational visit. So we covered how to train and fight and work and deal with cubs. We've learned how to conduct checks. We've learned DABS needs to be notified of a sale within, good answer, 8 business days. Letters sent to retailers, please do that. Retailers, they incentivize their clerks for not selling. And NAGA reimbursement is submitted. Are there any questions? Who's got a question? Give your mic.
So do you put your hours worked as the officer on your own department's time card? If you do, can you guys make the check out to the city? I received a few checks that were made out to me, but I had logged my overtime for those hours on my time card already.
Say this again. So you did a compliance check. Wrote overtime on your time card and got paid. Okay. How is your profile in years? Make sure that your profile shows your agency name, because that's who the check goes to. I say did that because you need a DUNS number if we're gonna write a check, so this is an issue. Check your profile. Yeah. Not a bonus. Other questions? Anybody questions? Okay, I have one question. Were you paying attention to this fun video? How many monsters were there? 4, 6, 9. Any online answerers?
Oh, yeah.
12. The first one that answers it gets a prize.
7.
How many times this month you guys show up? 5. We're guessing. See, you guys were napping during my presentation. I heard that right answer over there. Who said it? 8. Way to pay attention. Let me get you a rock.
Really? Really?
Hey, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jill. she's worked hard to make it online and easy over the years for reimbursement. So again, it's a fully funded program, and we thank Bill for not even for reimbursements, but for taking the sale or not sale and keeping and issuing the annual report. So we're up to closing, and I have a few remarks, but before I do, I would like to invite Lieutenant Adams to say a few words on the world of compliance checks. And then I'll say a few words and we'll get everybody on their way.
All right, thanks. I'll just be quick. I just wanted to tell everyone here, appreciate you guys being here. I'm the section commander over the stick alcohol team, and one of our highest priorities is the youth alcohol and the cup compliance checks that we do in the bars and the restaurants for the on-premise locations. And we're more than happy to train, to help, to come in with you guys if you would like us to come along and help out on off premise with your different jurisdictions. We'll do whatever we can to help out. We know how big of a deal it is and how important it is for us to get out there and do these compliance checks. And had the good fortune to be able to work with most people in here are and everyone from Gabs and Sully County Health and ambulance and everyone. So it's been really good for me to be able to rub shoulders with these guys. They're so passionate about this work and for good reason, that's for sure. So
Yeah. Do you have hubs if agencies are running into a problem getting Cubs, can you help them with Cubs?
Absolutely, yeah, I'm sure that we have a pretty good pool of Cubs right now, and we continually add more to our pool. So if you're running short on Cubs and you need someone that just might be able to show you and finish something like that, we would definitely help with that. I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, I'm grateful that we were able to have this training. Like I said, it's important. We go out there and with my guys every once in a while, and I'm able to see the hard work that our Cubs are doing and our officers are doing to keep that alcohol out of the hands of the youth. And it's very impactful, and I think that's it's super important for us to be out there and do that to continue to drive that stuff right now. Like I said, if you have any questions or need any additional resources from the state, we're more than happy to help out. You can
Conducted them.
this area of the state right here is sergeant. This one over, right there, raise your hand, Mitch. He's another sergeant. For me, after this meeting, you grab any one of us, the number or whatever, and we're like I said, we're more than happy to come out and we're in the business of helping all jurisdictions without charging an extra dime. So we're more than happy to come out, see free of charge, right, and help you with whatever you need. So anyway, that's about it. Thanks, sir.
Thanks. Just to give you an idea in terms of numbers, there's about 16,000 kids that drink regularly in K6 through 12. And then there's another 10,000 above that, below 21. So we have about 26,000 kids that drink regularly in the state of Utah. We have a lot of kids here. So anything we can do to take it down a few percents and keep the numbers going down. People tell me, oh, well, we're 3 cycles ago, they said, oh, you're hitting the bottom. I don't know what the bottom is. I do know that we get 45,000 new kids every year in the 5th grade. And, but I do know that we are making remarkable progress because everybody works on it. It is community mobilization. And your part is to do the compliance checks for off premise. Clearly the basketball is in your court for off premise. And you have heard him say, I want to make it really clear, they will not go there unless invited there, so to speak. And so that didn't used to be so, it was so mixed up, so it's an important that we do that. And for these kids that get started down these roads of alcohol, it's really hard to back them out. So we really want our prevention work to go down. And in my mind, enforcement is prevention. That's all. It's that simple. And if we'll do it on the community level, it sends out a message to every family there. And it really helps when we try and lower the demand. So I really appreciate you coming. Now, we've all been fed very well. And we need to look to Amber back there who put this all together. Stand up, Amber. She writes the newsletters, she orders the food, she puts together the leads for all of the visual aids that we've got, the videos, the website, everything. So she's been at it for a year to really get us going again on easy. And really now the baton is shifted to the rest of us. But realize it is really a huge collective effort. And we're really committed to lowering the demand while we shut down the retail supply. So I want to thank you very much for coming and for all of you in the planning committee, all who spoke. And if there's any more questions, the officers here, and many of you have been out doing regular checks for and shared for years. So we really appreciate that. So with that, we'll all get out of here early, but everybody will vote for us. So thanks very much for coming. Thanks. Thanks. Marv, appreciate it. Good. Thanks. Very nice. You're close to home.